Have you ever been at a party, maybe, and you see that person who's just alive, right in the middle of everything, laughing, talking to everyone?
Yeah, the life of the party.
Exactly. And then there's someone else, maybe over by the window, perfectly happy, just watching, or maybe having a really deep chat with one other person.
Taking it all in quietly.
Right. So what if how you recharge, how your brain even works, is kind of hardwired? And that wiring shapes, well, pretty much everything, your job, who you hang out with, everything.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
Because introversion and extroversion, they're way more than just liking parties or preferring quiet. It's this whole fascinating spectrum.
A spectrum, okay.
Yeah. And our mission here is to unpack that. Look at the psychology, the neuroscience even, and what it all means in real life. So you can understand yourself and maybe the people around you a bit better with some, real clarity.
Okay, so where do we even start? Does this idea have like an origin story?
It does, yeah. We have to go back to the 1920s to Carl Jung. He was a Swiss psychiatrist.
Jung, right. I've heard the name.
So he first talked about introverts focusing their energy inward on their own thoughts, feelings, what he called their subjective psychic contents, basically their inner world.
Okay, inner world focus. And extroverts.
Extroverts, he said. Direct their energy outward towards external objects. The people, the action, the world around them.
Interesting. So inwards versus outwards. Has that idea changed much since the 20s?
It's evolved, definitely. The core idea is still there. But now we tend to focus more on energy, like how you recharge your batteries.
Energy battery analogy.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Introverts gain energy from being alone, from quiet reflection. Too much going on, too many people. It actually drains them.
Right. I can relate to that sometimes.
And extroverts, they're the opposite. They get energized by being around people, by external stuff happening. Being alone too long can feel, well, flat, maybe even boring.
So that's the key difference. Not shyness, but where you get your energy from.
That's the fundamental piece, yes. It's not about social skills or being afraid of people. It's purely about energy gain versus energy drain.
That makes a lot more sense. But is it really just black and white? You're either one or the other.
Oh, definitely not. That's a really important point. Jung might have started with two types, but nowadays, pretty much everyone sees it as a spectrum, a continuum.
Like a sliding scale.
Or precisely. Most people aren't way out on either end. They fall somewhere in the middle. We call them ambiverts.
Ambiverts. Okay, I've heard that term.
Yeah, and ambiverts can draw energy from both being alone and being with people. They often adapt. Maybe they're quiet in a big group, but really chatty with close friends. It's flexible.
That flexibility sounds pretty useful.
It can be. But what's really mind-blowing is that this isn't just like a preference. There's actual biology behind it in our brains.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Biology. How so?
Well, studies show different patterns of brain activity. For introverts, there's often more blood flow happening in the prefrontal cortex.
The planning and thinking part of the brain.
Exactly. Planning, problem-solving, deep thought. It suggests more internal processing. And interestingly, they seem to be more sensitive to dopamine.
Dopamine. That's the reward chemical, right?
That's the one. Introverts get a good dopamine hit from, let's say, less stimulation. They don't need as much external buzz to feel rewarded or satisfied.
Yeah.
Too much can actually feel overwhelming, like sensory overload.
Okay, so less is more for their dopamine system. What about extroverts?
For extroverts, there's more activity seen in areas linked to sensory input and emotional processing. Think amygdala, nucleus accumbens parts of the brain's reward circuitry.
So they're wired for more external rewards.
It seems that way. They have a stronger dopamine response to external rewards. They actually need a bit more action, more engagement, more social buzz to get that same level of positive, energetic feeling. It's like their dopamine system has a higher threshold.
Wow. So it really is kind of hardwired.
To a significant extent, yes. Research points to genetics playing a big role, maybe somewhere between, say, 39% and 58% of where you fall on the spectrum might be inherited.
That's huge. Okay, so if our brains are wired differently, how does this show up in just, everyday life? Does it affect, like, what we wear?
Well, there's some fun, maybe less rigorous research suggesting subtle things, like maybe extroverts lean towards more decorative clothing, aiming to stand out a bit.
Introverts.
Maybe more towards practical, comfortable stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a bit speculative,
Sure. What about somewhere like the office? That seems like a place these differences would really show.
Oh, absolutely. You can often see it in how people set up their workspace. Extroverts might decorate more, maybe keep their doors open, arrange chairs to invite people in.
Creating opportunities for interaction.
Exactly. Introverts, on the other hand, might decorate less, perhaps arrange their desk or screen to discourage casual interruptions. They're often trying to protect their focus.
Makes sense. And communication styles. I bet that's a big one.
Huge. Introverts often prefer a slower pace. They tend to think before they speak, really process things internally first.
Which might explain why they sometimes prefer email or text.
Yeah.
Gives them time to formulate.
Precisely. They can craft their response carefully, and they're often really good listeners because they're taking it all in. But in a big, fast-moving group discussion, they might seem quiet or withdrawn.
Because they're still processing while everyone else is talking.
Or waiting for a pause that never comes.
Yeah.
Extroverts, contrastingly, are often very comfortable thinking while they speak. Ideas tumble out. They might use more abstract or colorful language and genuinely enjoy batting ideas back and forth verbally.
Yes. Now we need to bust a myth here. Because people often confuse introversion with being shy, right? Or having social anxiety.
Yes, that's a crucial distinction. They can look similar from the outside, but the why behind the behavior is totally different.
How so?
Shyness is rooted in fear of social judgment, fear of saying the wrong thing. Someone who's shy might want to interact but feels too anxious to do it.
Okay, fear-based and introversion.
Introversion is about energy management. An introvert isn't necessarily afraid. They just find social interaction, especially in large doses, draining. They can be perfectly sociable, even enjoy it, but they know it costs them energy, and they'll need downtime later to recharge.
So the classic example, the kid at the party.
Right. The shy kid might be hovering at the edge, wanting to join the game, but too scared. The introverted kid might be perfectly content reading a book in the corner, not because they're scared, but because the noise and activity are overwhelming, and reading feels better, more energizing to them in that moment. Preference, not fear.
That's a really helpful way to frame it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Relationships. The classic opposites attract thing often brings introverts and extroverts together.
It does happen a lot.
But how do they make it work long term? With such different needs for socializing and recharging, it seems like it could cause friction.
It definitely can cause friction if there isn't understanding and, crucially, good communication. But it's more than just talking about it. It's about finding practical ways to honor both people's needs.
Got any examples?
Sure. Think about Nina, an introvert, and her boyfriend, an extrovert. Early on, huge struggle. He'd want to go out every night after work. She'd be totally drained and just want quiet.
Classic conflict.
Exactly. And compromise felt like both were losing. The breakthrough came when they stopped seeing her need for alone time as a rejection of him, or his need for socializing as him being insensitive.
So they reframed it.
They reframed it.
Right.
They realized her recharging alone actually made their time together better because she wasn't burnt out. So she could happily curl up with a book while he went out with friends, and there was zero guilt or resentment. It became about supporting each other's energy needs.
That takes real understanding. What about another one?
Okay, how about Cam, an introvert, and Lily, an extrovert? Together a decade. Their issue was feeling like they weren't getting enough quality time together because one always wanted to stay in, the other go out.
The push and pull.
Right. Their solution was surprisingly simple, but effective. They started scheduling it.
Scheduling downtime and uptime.
Pretty much. One night a week, they'd intentionally do separate things. Another night was dedicated quality time together, and they'd alternate his choice one week, usually going out, her choice the next, usually staying in. Planning took the pressure off and ensured balance.
That's super practical. I like that. Any others?
One more quick one. Elise, an extrovert, and Sam, an introvert. Big challenge was Elise's outgoing family thinking Sam was rude or unfriendly because he'd get quiet and withdraw at big family gatherings.
Oh, yeah, that pressure can be intense.
Totally. Their strategy was setting social goals together before an event. Like, okay, we'll stay until you've had a chance to chat with everyone, Elise, or let's aim to leave about 10 minutes before you usually hit your wall, Sam.
Proactive planning again.
Yes, and crucially, they focused on appreciating the differences. Elise loved Sam's calm thoughtfulness. Sam adored how Elise could light up a room. Shifting from tolerating the difference to valuing it made all the, difference.
Valuing the difference, that's key. And this applies to friendships too, presumably.
Absolutely. Introverts often prefer a few deep, close friendships. Quality over quantity. Extroverts tend to have broader networks and might process things by talking them through with several different people.
And does socializing affect them differently afterwards?
Interestingly, yes. Studies show both types get a mood boost from being with others, But introverts sometimes pay a cognitive price. Like their reaction times might be slower on a task after a period of intense socializing. It literally takes a toll on their processing power.
Wow, a cognitive cost. Okay, let's talk work. The professional world often seems built for extroverts, open offices, networking, speaking up in meetings. Can introverts really thrive as leaders?
Resoundingly, yes. But they lead differently. Introverts bring incredible strengths to leadership. They're often fantastic listeners, really taking in all the information before making decisions.
So, more thoughtful decision making.
Often, yes. They can bring a sense of calm, solve problems methodically, and actually create really productive teams because they might favor fewer, more focused meetings, giving people space for deep work. They can be magic in one-on-one situations too. Think strategic planning, mentoring.
Who's a famous example you hear about some CEOs being introverted?
Elon Musk is often mentioned as an example of a highly successful introverted leader. He leverages his deep thinking and focus.
But there must be challenges too, right?
Oh, for sure. The constant interaction demanded by many leadership roles can be incredibly draining for an introvert. They have to consciously manage their energy. And yes, in cultures that prize outspokenness, they might get overlooked compared to more visibly assertive extroverts.
So how do they cope? Do they just fake it?
Sometimes they have to adopt what psychologist Brian Little calls free traits. Basically, acting out of character for a specific goal or situation that's important to them.
Acting extroverted when needed.
Exactly. Maybe training themselves for public speaking or learning networking strategies. Or they might lean into their strengths behind the scenes, or even partner strategically with an extrovert who handles the more public-facing stuff. It's about finding what works.
Makes sense. And just in the day-to-day office grind.
Introverts usually prefer quieter spots, maybe smaller teams, structured work. They often appreciate praise that's specific and perhaps given privately or in writing, rather than a big public shout-out.
And they excel at certain tasks.
Often things requiring deep focus and detail,
Mm-hmm.
writing, coding, analysis, engineering, accounting. And they can be great presenters, but usually when they've had lots of time to prepare and rehearse.
Okay. And extroverts in the office.
They tend to thrive in buzzing, fast-paced environments. Love collaboration, brainstorming sessions, maybe juggling multiple tasks. Their communication skills often shine, making them naturals for sales, management, teaching roles with lots of interaction.
So for a manager trying to get the best out of everyone.
It's about creating space for both.
Mm-hmm.
You need to actively solicit input from introverts, maybe in smaller groups, one-on-one, or even asking for written feedback after a meeting. And you need to gently manage discussions so extroverts don't dominate, ensuring those quieter, thoughtful voices get heard too.
Right, creating that balance. Now let's talk happiness. There's this persistent idea that extroverts are just happier people. Is there truth to that?
Well, it's complicated. Extroverts do tend to score higher on self-reported happiness questionnaires and measures of self-esteem.
So, case closed.
Not quite. Some researchers argue that the way we measure happiness could be biased towards extroverted expressions of it, like enthusiasm, excitement, high energy.
So the questions themselves might favor extroverts.
Possibly. Also, introverts can sometimes be more self-critical, but that might also mean they have a more realistic self-view. And here's something interesting. Actively pursuing happiness, like making it a constant goal, can sometimes backfire and reduce well-being, maybe especially for introverts who might actually prefer a calmer, more neutral state while working or thinking. Contentment over bubbly joy, perhaps.
So happiness isn't just about being outgoing.
Definitely not. Other personality traits matter hugely, too. Things like neuroticism, how conscientious you are, how agreeable. It's a much bigger picture than just introversion versus extroversion.
And culture plays a role too, doesn't it? How these traits are viewed.
Massively. Western cultures, particularly the U.S., are often described as having an extrovert ideal. Value is placed on being outgoing, assertive, sociable. The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
And that can put pressure on introverts, make them feel like they don't quite fit in or like they need to fake being more outgoing just to get by.
But it's not like that everywhere.
No, not at all. Many Eastern cultures, like in China or Japan, traditionally place a higher value on introverted traits. Things like quiet reflection, valuing your inner self, privacy, restraint. These are often seen as virtues. There's that saying, those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. A very different perspective.
Wow, that's a stark contrast.
And even within a single country, like the U.S., you see regional differences. Some studies suggest the Midwest is generally more extroverted, while the Pacific Northwest leans more introverted. There are even correlations with preferences for, say, mountains versus beaches.
Mountains versus beaches. Really?
Yeah, apparently introverts might show a slight preference for mountains, extroverts for beaches. It's just correlation, but interesting.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, let's bring this home to parenting, raising kids. If you have an introverted child in a society that often pushes constant activity and being super social, how do you support them without making them feel like something's wrong with them?
That's such an important question. The first step is just understanding their typical behaviors are normal for them.
Like what kind of behaviors?
Well, they might communicate best one-on-one. They're often great listeners. They definitely need solitude to recharge. They might need more time to think before answering a question. They might not readily share deep emotions. They're often quite self-aware. They learn well by watching first.
So they might hang back before joining in?
Exactly. Quiet in big groups, preferring to observe before participating. Deep concentration is also common. Inner reflection is really important to them.
So as a parent, what are the key things to do? Or maybe not do?
Okay, key strategies. Definitely create a safe, private space for them, their own little haven where they can retreat and recharge without interruption. Build quiet time into their daily routine, especially if the house is generally loud or busy.
Protect that downtime.
Yes. And be mindful about activities. Don't overschedule them. They need downtime between things. Maybe choose activities carefully, perhaps one or two they really love rather than signing them up for everything. And try to balance group family activities with dedicated one-on-one time focused on their interests.
What about navigating tricky social stuff, like big parties or crowds?
You can teach them coping strategies. Arrive early so it's less overwhelming when people trickle in. Let them observe from the sidelines for a bit. Talk about the event beforehand so they know what to expect.
Work with their strengths too.
Absolutely. Maybe individual sports or hobbies suit them better than large team ones, but the absolute most important thing, accept them. Embrace their nature.
Don't try to change them into an extrovert.
Please don't. Remember, it's largely hardwired. Pushing them to be someone they're not sends a terrible message that they aren't okay as they are. That can really damage their self-esteem and your connection with them.
That makes total sense. And practical tips for, say, easing them into social situations?
Go slow. Introduce new people or places gradually. Maybe start play dates at your house where they feel secure. Then a neutral place like a park. Then maybe the other child's house. Let them observe first. Maybe let them take the lead with younger kids, which can build confidence. And be ready to leave parties or events early if needed.
How do you know when they've hit their limit? What are the signs?
Look for signs of overstimulation. They might get clingy, start whining, become unusually quiet or withdrawn, seem really tired or suddenly irritable. If you see those signs, don't push them to tough it out. Gently remove them. Find a quiet spot or just head home. Your understanding is their anchor.
Right. Be their advocate.
Exactly. So wrapping this all up, it's really clear, isn't it? Introversion and extroversion aren't these rigid boxes. They're points on a spectrum, deeply influenced by our biology. Each end, and everywhere in between, has its own unique gifts and challenges.
It's not about labeling, but understanding.
Precisely. Understanding ourselves, understanding others, adapting, that's where the real value lies. It helps us thrive as individuals and connect better with everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it hammers home that there really is no better way to be. Both introverts and extroverts bring so much value. Society needs both. Our relationships need both. Workplaces need both.
Totally. And the most adaptable, maybe the most well-rounded people can learn to function well in different modes, right? They lean into their natural strengths, but they can also use those free traits we talked about when needed.
That recognition really builds empathy, doesn't it? And helps us all grow.
Definitely.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. Knowing that we can be adaptable, that we can choose to act in ways that aren't our default, setting those free traits. What's one surprising free trait you might want to explore in your own life? Something that could unlock something new for you, or maybe deepen your connection with someone different from you?
It's a great question to ponder.
We hope this deep dive gave you some useful insights into this whole fascinating world of personality. Keep exploring, keep learning about what makes you tick.
Keep diving deep.